The Senate will come to order. Senator Hoopen, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Madam President. In honor of our first responders who daily put their lives on the line for us, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members, this morning we are pleased to have the Bridge Between Show Choir and their director, Paula Latchtaw, with us. The group has a tradition of more than 30 years of connecting Berthoud High School with the community of Berthoud, thus their name, The Bridge Between. The group comes to us having won first place in the Festival Disney competition in Orlando, Florida. Please stand as they sing our national anthem. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the senator from Berthoud, Madam President, sorry it's too early, it's Monday morning, you know. As the senator from Berthoud, I want to personally thank you for coming, and ladies and gentlemen, this is a show choir that has pleased audiences around the country in many ways, and certainly around our state. Thank you.
And members, I'm sure that you have brought, the choir has brought some kind of encore opportunity. Would you be willing and wanting to hear something more? Great. Thank you very much.
Your heart is in
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here today.
Mr. Majors, would you please take the roll?
Quick.
Senator Tocktrop.
Just a quick, thank you, moment of personal privilege. How many of you in this room were one of the original Mouseketeers when they first came out on television? I mean, not on television, but were around when the original television, black and white.
Mr. Majors, would you please take the roll?
Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgartner, Brophy, Cadman, Crowder, Grantham, Guzman, Harvey, Heath, Herpin, Hill, Hodge, John, Johnston, Jones, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, King, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Newell, Nicholson, Renfro, Rivera, Roberts, Scheffel, Schwartz, Stedman, Tocktrop, Todd, Ulibarri, Zenzinger. Madam President.
Here. With 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Senate has a quorum. Motion to adopt the journal, Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the reading of the Journal of April 25th be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Committee reports.
April 25th, 2014, Committee on Legislative Council. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 201 be amended as follows. National amended for the committee whole. Favorable recommendation.
Senate Services.
April 28th, 2014, correctly printed Senate Bill 214, correctly engrossed Senate Bills 118, 159, 206, Senate Concurrent Resolution 2, Senate Joint Memorial 3, Senate Joint Resolutions 28 and 37, correctly re-engrossed Senate Bills 3, 164, 176, 187, 188, 194, correctly revised House Bills 10, 11, 10, 14, 1072, 1170, 1205, 1211, 1213, 1216, 1221, 1273, 1307, 1327, 1328, 1329, 1330, and 1331, correctly revised House Bills 1144, 1162, 1199, 1266, 1287, 1335, 1344, and 1347, correctly enrolled Senate Bills 141, 132, 143, 158, 161, and 165.
Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1360 by Representative Young and Senator Aguilar concerning the continuation of the regulation of home care agencies by the Department of Public Health and Environment and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of the 2013 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies as modified by the Legislative Sunset Committee and making an appropriation.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1376 by Representatives Buckner and Moreno and Senator Ulibarri concerning the analysis of information relating to the academic success of public school students based on student placement in different instructional groups of course levels and in connection therewith making appropriation.
Education.
House Bill 1380 by Representatives Gardner and Fields and Senator Nicholson concerning the Colorado Coroner Standards of Training Board and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1382 by Representatives Young and Wilson and Senators Kerr and Roberts concerning the delivery of online education within the public elementary and secondary education system and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Education.
House Bill 1383 by Representative Williams and Senators Tocktrop and Ulibarri concerning the required number of physicians that must be provided to an injured employee for selection of a treating physician in workers' compensation cases.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1385 by Representatives Priola and Pedestin and Senators Johnston and Rivera concerning creation of high school academic growth awards to correspond to high school athletic award classifications.
Education.
House Bill 1387 by Representatives Sabo and Fisher and Senator Schwartz concerning revisions of capital-related statutes in the Colorado Revised Statutes in connection therewith amending or repealing obsolete, inconsistent, and conflicting provisions of law and clarifying the language to reflect legislative intent and current application of the law.
State Veterans and Military Affairs. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege for Senator Zenzinger so she can introduce her daughter.
For the motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senator Zenzinger is granted a moment of personal privilege out of order. Senator.
Thank you, Madam President. I know that we have a busy calendar, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but I did want to introduce my daughter, Sophia Zenzinger, who is here with her class today. She's in the corner there. She is with her class Foster Elementary, which is a dual language program in Jeffco, 4th grade, up in the gallery, so welcome.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we proceed out of order here, Senate Joint Resolution 35 at this time.
For the motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order to consider Senate Joint Resolution 35. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 35?
Senate Joint Resolution 35 by Senators Sheffel and Jones and Representatives Lawrence and Vigil concerning the designation of April 28, 2014 as First Responder Appreciation Day.
Senator Sheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, we're privileged to bring First Responder Appreciation today, and I would move SJR 35. We would move SJR 35. Because of the schedule, I'm not going to ask that it be read at length, but I'm going to ask Mr. Majors to read a portion of it at length. Mr. Majors, if you could read through page 2, line 15 at length.
Mr. Majors, would you please read through page 2, line 15 at length?
Whereas, first responders risk their own safety and personal property in the execution of their duties to protect the public on a daily basis. And whereas first responders are the first line of defense for the public against threats, both domestic and foreign. And whereas first responders stand at the ready to come to the aid of the citizens of the United States of America 24 hours a day. And whereas first responders are a vital part of our communities, not only standing ready to deal with emergencies, but also volunteering in our schools and community organizations. And whereas individuals, both career and volunteer, from police, fire, emergency medical services, search and rescue, and other organizations in the public safety sector, come together as a collective to aid the public in the event of an emergency. And whereas the governors of the states of Illinois, Oregon, Kentucky, and Wisconsin have issued proclamations designating September 27th as First Responders Appreciation Day, and whereas the cities of Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, has also celebrated First Responder Appreciation Day. And whereas the Colorado General Assembly wishes to honor and support all first responders with an annual day of appreciation.
Thank you. Senator Sheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, the reason why we didn't have it read at length is because the majority of this resolution really now is made up of copies of this resolution being sent literally all over the nation. It started a number of years ago, and there's a story behind this resolution, and you will hear that. The good senator from Canyon City will recite that to you. And it's really grown. It's really been an amazing organic effort that results in copies of this being sent all over. Therefore, I do have an amendment that's nearly a page long that adds the additional folks that have asked to be copied with this resolution. So I'd like to take care of that bit of housekeeping first and would like to move L001 to SJR 35.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L001?
Amendment L001.
Senator Sheffel, go ahead and move it.
Madam President, I move L001 and ask for an aye vote. Again, this is just another litany of first responders literally throughout the nation. Whenever there is an event that you read about in the paper locally or nationally, we look into that, our staff looks into it and makes sure that those folks are contacted as best as we can to make sure they get a copy and know about this. So I would ask for an aye vote on L001.
Any discussion on the amendment? Are there any no votes on L001? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, L001 is adopted. Senator Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move L002. It's the same thing.
There is another amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L002?
Amendment L002.
Senator Jones.
I just asked for a vote.
Go ahead and remove it.
Yes, I would move L002.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of L002. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, L002 is adopted. Senator Sheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. Best thing we can do today, colleagues, is just humbly, appropriately say thank you. We have various days around here, and we honor different groups that qualify as first responders, and today is a day when we kind of bring it all together. I love this day because it really speaks to me of the concept of when something goes wrong, when there's a problem to be solved, when there's a need to be filled, it's all hands on deck. Whether it's from the police, the firefighters, the paramedics, the EMTs, the Flight for Lifers, all the various groups, National Guard. And as I say those words and we begin to contemplate and just pause for ever a minute here amidst an extraordinarily busy schedule, and the concept of first responders evokes memories in your mind. You're all thinking of an instance. I love this day because it's even a little playful. I was here, we had breakfast with this group this morning, and I couldn't help listening in on some conversations, and you hear things like, oh, the knuckle draggers are here. Here come the hose draggers. Well, the lawn chair jockeys are over there. I love this one. Paramedics save lives. EMTs save paramedics. Over in this corner was the infamous the donut eaters. We know who those guys are. One I hadn't heard. Wonder if the sharks are going to be here. Sharks. State Patrol. They're always out there. You just don't know where they are. Bottom line is we all can go to a story. The one I go to is one I've told before, helping my folks out dragging a boat trailer that didn't have a boat on it. Car breaks down. I'm in the middle of a highway on 470. Couldn't quite get pulled over long enough, and the trailer was sitting out in the right lane there ever so slightly. I got out of the car. My kids were younger at the time. About the time I got back to see if I could lift this thing, I couldn't. A car whizzed by at about 80 miles an hour within, it felt like inches of that trailer. And I thought to myself, I am in deep trouble. Because if something happens here, odds are I'm going to be killed. It's going to be horrific for my kids. This is a problem, and I needed to solve it immediately. Turned around to see a state patrol roll up, lights on, cool as a cuke. I was shook, and I needed help. And his lights and cool head helped me figure out what to do. And the bottom line at the end of that couldn't have lasted more than 10, 15 minutes. I was safe. My kids were safe. We've all had the experience with our kids. The good senator from Denver has recited this in the past with his young ones. Being on the phone with 911. Never forget it, my young son, who's now 18, as an infant. Chewing on something, chokes, rolls off the bed, something happens, gets the wind knocked out. I'm on the phone. Calm, cool, collected. Is everything okay? Do we need to send somebody? Is he breathing? He's okay. Oh, he coughed it up. Everything's okay. But man, was it nice to be on the phone with somebody who seemed to have a handle on the situation. And every one of us could recite story after story after story. Like I said, you're going to hear from the good senator from Canyon about the story that got us into this. When I came into this place, I represented Park County, and there was a tragedy there that really resulted in the founding of this day, and now it's really spread all over the place. And like I said, the fires, the floods, the stories just roll in about first responders and their role. So I'm going to step aside here from my colleague. I appreciate the partnership with the senator here and being able to partner up on this. These folks are going to go to the House here, so we're going to get them out of here, and I know we've got to jump into a busy schedule, but let me end at where I began to say thank you. Thank you. So much of your work is unheralded. So much of your work doesn't get spoken about, and it just quietly solves a problem, and some of it does make the news, obviously, but bottom line is we just so appreciate what you do. The partnership and you all working together, it looks amazing from our side of it. I know from your side of it, it's almost like the back of a tapestry sometimes where it's maybe not all that organized and you're working together and the different things you got to deal with, but from our side, it looks pretty amazing. And so thanks for what you do on behalf of the citizens of Colorado. Thanks for taking the time to come here. I know a lot of you are busy and you're anxious to hit the streets. You told me you got work to do out there, and so we're going to get you back out there. But it's a privilege to co-carry this on your behalf, and thanks so much for being here.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me read just a couple whereases from the Governor's proclamation. Whereas first responders risk their own safety and personal property in the execution of duties to protect the public on a daily basis. And whereas individuals, both career and volunteer, from police, fire, emergency medical services, search and rescue, and other organizations in the public safety sector come together as a collective to aid the public in the event of an emergency. So I pointed out the volunteer part of this thing. I think we look past this sometimes, whether it be Louisville Fire, who is still partly volunteer, or 4 Mile Fire, who fought the 4 Mile Fire for a dozen days straight. That is very, very difficult to do physically. You know, I was at an executive education course at Harvard this summer with my friend from Adams County, and we had the Arlington police chief in there, Fred Ryan, and had the opportunity to hear from the police commissioner of Boston about that whole thing that happened about a year ago, and we visited the site on Copley Square, and it was very, very moving, and an incredible effort on their behalf, and very vivid, as you probably remember the story. But you don't have to go that far to see this kind of courage and public service. My district of Louisville, Lafayette, Erie, and Longmont was severely damaged by the flood. A couple stories from that. Louisville police, you don't hear about Louisville so much because the damage wasn't as severe as some other places, but it was very bad in some places. Officers Mark McMillan and Officer Logan Haymore went on scene to a farmhouse just off a creek, Coal Creek, that was raging out of control. The rescuers, they knew there was an elderly woman in the house. They knew there were 16 collies in the house in a rescue that they did. And the rescuers with them said it was too dangerous to go in. What they did is they commandeered a tractor, waded through waist-deep water, rescued the elderly woman and the dogs, and put their lives at risk to do that. My wife and I live a few blocks from that river, and in the middle of the night you could hear it over the TV. That's how much it was going. At Longmont Fire, they rescued 400 people in distress. 400 people, if you can imagine. Probably the most vivid story is about Lieutenant Casey Cloud, who was in a boat in a wetsuit with a kickboard going in and rescuing people for about a dozen hours. If you remember those conditions in the rain and doing that at night, that's amazing heroism. Mountain View Fire came over and helped them and helped rescue a woman who was about ready to drown. But there's story after story after story about what these people did. And I got to tell you, all these people do all this training and getting ready, and when they come through like this, it's an amazing thing. And we're all better for it, and we're all glad for it. And I'm just happy to be part of this resolution because we depend on these people, and they come through for us, and I just want to thank you for that.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a story that you're not unfamiliar with. Platte Canyon High School hostage crisis was an incident of a hostage taking and the shooting that occurred there at Platte Canyon High School in Bailey, Colorado, September 27th, 2006. It was about 11:40 a.m. on that September 27th when the gunman entered the school. After some time had transpired, the code white alert was sounded over the intercom, and students were instructed to remain in their classrooms, but this was already after the gunman had taken 6 hostages. Almost immediately, the negotiations with the gunman began by our first responders with the goal of allowing the 6 remaining hostages in that room to be released. They spoke via telephone with him, and the gunman used those hostages as the relayers between the negotiators and himself, as he did not want to speak to them directly. They successfully negotiated for 4 of the girls' release, and the negotiators heightened the intensity of their indirect discussions with the gunman, and it was during this time, as you're all well aware and familiar with this part of the story, when 16-year-old junior Emily Keyes, one of those two remaining hostages, managed to send that well-known text in response to her dad's text when he said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I love you guys." Total a total of 800 students from both Platte Canyon High School and the nearby Fitzsimmons Middle School were rapidly evacuated. All those students, except for those hostages, were safely evacuated by 12:10 p.m. And then by 3 p.m., all had been taken to Deer Creek Elementary School. By the time the 4 hostages were released, the bomb squad, SWAT team from Jefferson County, agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives were sent to the scene. Ambulances parked themselves in the end zone of the high school's football field. 4-mile stretch of US 285 was closed. The gunman explicitly stated that he would stop negotiating at 4 p.m. The sheriff, along with the SWAT and the police, Sheriff Fred Wagner, that is, said that the police and the SWAT chose to storm that second-floor classroom after the man ended negotiations, stating that something would happen at 4 p.m. The police burst through that door at approximately 3:45 p.m. After using the hostages as human shields against the SWAT team, the gunman shot at the policeman and then at Emily. Emily Keyes was taken by helicopter to a hospital in Denver, where she was pronounced dead at 4:32 p.m. The other hostage survived with no physical injuries. "800 students that survived were evacuated because of the actions of our first responders. Heroes that walk among us. Folks, today we have with us many special guests, as you saw when you walked in. Among those we have with us today John Michael Keyes. If you could stand, please, sir. And Tim Gregg, whose daughter survived that day. Thank you for being here. As well as all of our first responders, if you could please stand. Colleagues, would you please help me welcome them here today.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam President. Please take your seats. I'm from El Paso County, and we're kind of well known for our beautiful tourism attractions down in El Paso. Last couple of summers, we've had a new kind of tourism. I'd call it disaster tourism, where all the fire departments from the state come out and fight fires in places like Waldo Canyon, Mountain Shadows, and Black Forest. And it's not like we don't like you coming, but the reason is obviously one of where we have had some tragedies down there, and it shows these are, I think, exemplary of some really major operations that brought the federal government, the state government, all the local districts, the counties, the cities to the call of the bell. Thousands of people responded, first responders. We had, I know one of our schools, I think, was saved by a small engine from Hanover, Colorado, and one from Boulder, where they met in the middle of the fire scene with really no supervision. They knew they were there for the same objective and worked out the operational control and saved one of our schools down there. So obviously everybody is working hard. We evacuated literally, I think, tens of thousands of people from their homes, which was mostly the responsibility of our police and county sheriffs, but then many that actually went in and fought the fires for days and days at the risk of their lives, and they saved so many lives that would have otherwise have been at risk that from all of our citizens in El Paso County, we'd just like to say thank you.
Senator Harvey, I had you next.
Thank you, Madam President and members. I want to come up in support of this resolution. Senator Grantham kind of took a little bit of my thoughts, but many of you all may not know that on Thursday, sorry about that, on Thursday, December 19th, 2013, my phone went off from calls and text messages from all over the state saying, "How is your son?" I was on my way back from Pueblo, where I had gone down to lobby the Parks and Wildlife Division for Chatfield Reservoir. And on the way down there, I was talking about how I had grounded my son that day, that week actually, and took away his cell phone, and talked about how I've never done that before because I never wanted to have my son be without his phone just in case he was at school and there was a school shooting. How ironic is that? On the way back, I get a call from a colleague of mine at work who said there's a shooting, active shooting going on at Arapahoe High School, and I couldn't get a hold of my son. It was rather surreal. I call my wife and tell her, turn on the radio, turn on KOA, and they say there is a kids in lockdown, there's an active shooting going on at Arapahoe High School. So John Hendricks, who was my chauffeur for the morning down to Pueblo, got me back to his house, got me back to my house, and picked up my car, and I shot to Arapahoe High School. And how surreal is that to be going up to your kid's school, and it's a militarized zone. There are first responders everywhere in full riot gear and blocking off the streets for blocks and blocks away, and helicopters everywhere. And finally you get a call from your son saying, "I'm okay." And you're able to track him down across the street at the Burger King, where they have all of the kids cordoned off and they're interviewing everybody. And I have a picture of a police officer in full riot gear interviewing my son, because they interviewed every kid that came out of the school to make sure, figure out what they knew and what was going on. I give credit to the first responders, yes, but I also give credit to the teachers and the administrators for how they handled it. My son knew the shooter, and the shooter's mom was a dear friend of mine, is a dear friend of mine. It was rather, that was the biggest gut punch when I found that out. But my son was right across the hall from the library, and as soon as they heard the shots, all of the teachers locked down immediately in the immediate vicinity, and I believe that saved a lot of lives. But as soon as it was announced that there was a shooting, the first responder was an armed police officer in the school, a resource officer. And he was down the hall immediately confronting the shooter. That is what saved lives. Yes, the teachers locked down. Yes, the administration had all the procedures in place, but we had a school resource officer that was there and immediately intervening. Force met force, and Carl took his life rather than continuing on. It was a surreal day for those at Arapahoe High School. Actually, today, the school newspaper is coming out with their first major expose that'll be distributed today to all of the students and staff at Arapahoe High School, highlighting how that impacted our kids and our community. And I cannot thank the first responders enough for how they handled that. They were in there within minutes. I think the number was something like 6 minutes for responders to be in the school, getting kids out of classrooms, class by class. Thank you all for what you do. Thank you for being the ones that run to the gunfire and not run away from the gunfire. You are true heroes in my family's life and in our community's life, and I couldn't let this day go by without thanking you for your service. God bless you.
Senator Herpin.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been a volunteer with the Colorado Springs Police Department since 1985, and in the late 1980s, I was the volunteer clerk for the DUI enforcement team at the department. These were specially trained officers. When a patrol officer has a suspected impaired driver, they call these guys out to do the roadside sobriety, make the initial evaluation, and whether or not the person should be arrested for DUI. Late in the evening of Tuesday, December 5th, 2006, a patrol officer stopped a suspected impaired driver on Fountain Boulevard just east of Murray, which is now in my Senate district. He's called for a DUI enforcement officer, and Officer Kenneth C. Jordan, a member of the DUI enforcement team, showed up. As Officer Jordan was approaching the suspect came out of the driver's side firing. Officer Jordan was hit, taken to the hospital, and his watch ended that evening at 23:15. While we have heard stories today about how first responders have saved lives, this is a story how the 11th of 12 officers killed in a line of duty at Colorado Springs Police Department gave his life trying to help make our streets safer. Thank you for what you do, and may you return safely to your families every day at end of watch.
Thank you. Senator Shuffle.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, colleagues. One of the things we've tried to do is solicit stories, and you can imagine the first responder stories that roll in are far too many to recite here. I will close with one that hit me this morning, actually. And it came in the wake of all the wildfires. And the comment was, and it kind of brought me up short, was the first responders, they came, they in many respects saved us, they helped us, they saved our belongings. But then the one that really hit me is when it was time to come back in, when they released it, and those that live down there know that the area was shut off, and then the residents could go in to see the damage and whatnot. And the comment came that when it was time to go back in, after having helped, saved, all the things first responders do, when it was time to take people back in, the first responders grieved with us. I thought that was pretty profound. The comment was they were touched because we were heartbroken, many of the residents, at what they had lost and seeing the different things and comprehending the extent of the devastation. And when it came down to help them go back in, they actually grieved with the residents. That says a lot. Thank you so much for all you do, for taking the time to come today, colleagues for taking the time to do this resolution, the good senator here for working with me on this. Today, first responders, your work is very much noted and appreciated. Renew our motion and ask for an aye vote.
The question before the body is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 35. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 0 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 35 is adopted. Senator Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we add the current roll call as sponsors, co-sponsors.
Any objection? Seeing none, the present roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 35. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we proceed out of order to hear Senate Joint Resolution 30.
For the motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We will proceed out of order to take up Senate Joint Resolution 30. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 30?
Senate Joint Resolution 30 by Senators Roberts and Gonzalez and Representative Dorr concerning memorializing the Cheyenne and Arapaho people who lost their lives during the Sand Creek Massacre, honoring their descendants, and commemorating the 150th anniversary of that tragic event.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 30 and ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Majors, would you please read Senate Joint Resolution 30 at length?
Whereas, on November 29, 1864, approximately 675 United States soldiers under the command of Colonel John Shivington killed more than 200 Cheyenne and Arapaho villagers, mostly elderly men, women, and children, approximately 180 miles southeast of Denver near Eads, Colorado. And whereas, despite assurance from American negotiators that they would be safe, and despite Cheyenne Chief Black Kettle raising both a United States flag and a white flag as symbols of peace, Colonel Shivington ordered his troops to take no prisoners and to pillage and to set the village ablaze, violently forcing the ambushed and outnumbered Cheyenne and Arapaho villagers to flee on foot. And whereas Colonel Shivington and his troops paraded mutilated body parts of men, women, and children in downtown Denver, Colorado, in celebration of the massacre. And whereas Captain Silas Sewell, commander of Company D, 1st Colorado Cavalry, remains a symbol of bravery, as he pleaded with his commander, Colonel Shivington, not to attack the peaceful villagers, refused to order his soldiers to participate in the massacre, alerted the United States Congress and the public to the massacre that it might be investigated, testified in Army hearings against his commander, and later was assassinated for his efforts to illuminate the truth. And whereas Lieutenant Joseph Kramer, commander of Company K, also stood with Captain Sewell, as did at least 100 other soldiers, in refusing to follow orders to participate in the massacre, and Lieutenant Kramer also notified authorities by letter of the atrocities he witnessed that day and testified before an Army commission. And whereas the Sand Creek Massacre was a tragedy of worldwide importance and continues to impact the sovereign tribal nations whose ancestors were massacred that tragic day. And whereas Colorado Senate Joint Resolution 99017 added an interpretive plaque to the Civil War monument outside the state capitol, explaining the mischaracterization of the Sand Creek Massacre as a battle and the people of Colorado's struggle to interpret and take responsibility for the past. And whereas the National Park Service established by an act of Congress the Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Site, which opened in April 2007, to preserve and protect the physical and cultural landscape of the massacre and to enhance public awareness and understanding. And whereas the Northern Cheyenne Tribe of Montana, the Northern Arapaho Tribe of Wyoming, and the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes of Oklahoma organized the annual Sand Creek Spiritual Healing Run in 1999 that begins in Eads, Colorado, and ends on the steps of the state capitol, to remember what the Cheyenne and Arapaho people endured and to honor those killed. And whereas healing from such tragedy requires, in part, recognition of and redress for the tragedy, and efforts have been made both to help educate the public about the massacre and to teach respect for diverse cultures in order to better understand and learn from the past. And whereas educating the public about the Sand Creek Massacre and people like Captain Silas Sewell and Lieutenant Joseph Kramer, who stood up for justice, encourages people to stand up against injustices now and prevent tragedies such as this in the future. And whereas November 29, 2014 is the 150th anniversary of the Sand Creek Massacre, and the state of Colorado recognizes the lives that were lost and that healing from this devastating event must continue. And whereas Governor Hickenlooper issued Executive Order B 2014-003 on March 17, 2014, establishing the Sand Creek Massacre Commemoration Commission, to plan and prepare events for the 150th anniversary of the massacre that respect and memorialize the Cheyenne and Arapaho people and their ancestors, promote cross-cultural understanding, and educate the public about the massacre and the events surrounding it so such atrocities can be prevented in the future. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 69th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, acknowledge the devastation caused by the Sand Creek Massacre and seek to raise public awareness about the tragic event, the Cheyenne and Arapaho people, and events surrounding it. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to Governor Eddie Hamilton of the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes of Oklahoma, Chairman Darrell O'Neill Sr. of the Northern Arapaho Business Council, President Lavando Fisher of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council, Governor John Hickenlooper, Lieutenant Governor Joseph Garcia, and the Sand Creek Massacre Commemoration Commission.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, colleagues, and thank you for allowing us to present this resolution. My words are simple. It's important to remember history, to do our utmost to learn from history, and to be able to come together and heal from such tragic events as occurred with the Sand Creek Massacre 150 years ago. Thank you.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. Excuse me. We've brought this resolution during our session because the 150th commemoration will occur at the end of November. We felt it was very important to raise awareness among all of us in terms of our history. If you care to know more about the events that'll be held around the time of the end of November, there is actually a website, sandcreekmassacre150.com. You also can talk to Ernest House Jr., who is the Executive Director of the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs. We have several tribes that make up the descendants of the massacre, and they are the members of the Northern Cheyenne in Montana, the Northern Arapaho Tribe of Wyoming, the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes of Oklahoma. We're joined here today by two representatives from the Northern Arapaho of Wyoming. We have Councilman Al Addison Sr., who's a retired Air Force veteran and served in Vietnam. And we have Councilman Willard Gold, also of the Northern Arapaho of Wyoming. And we have Ernest House Jr., our Executive Director of the Colorado Commission on Indian Affairs. Again, members, this is one of those solemn occasions. It's difficult to address it, but I think it is very, very important that we take this time to recognize the role that history plays for all of us, even if we obviously weren't there 150 years ago. This is a very painful memory for those Cheyenne and Arapaho people, and we hope to move forward together in the healing. I respectfully ask, Madam President, if we could have a roll call vote and the chimes.
Yes, and maybe members, you could help me and our sponsors welcome our guests here, and thank you for joining us today. A roll call vote has been requested, and Senator Toktra would like to speak on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Senator Kafalis and Senator Roberts, for bringing us forward. You know, ironically, Black Kettle escaped. This truly is a black mark in the history of the state of Colorado. What was unfortunate is him and the members of his band went to Oklahoma, and I don't think many people are aware of this, but then the same thing occurred there with General Armstrong Custer, who came in, Washita, it's called. Well, not only did they go in and massacre many of the Indians at that point, they also circled around him because General Custer pretty much left a lot of the soldiers there. A lot of those soldiers were also massacred, and that is one of the reasons that they, at the time, that they threatened a court-martial Armstrong Custer. But unfortunately, General Sherman intervened, and he came back, and then because of that is why we have Little Bighorn. So it's just amazing how history has followed itself. Tragic, tragic history for the Native Americans because of our thoughts about Manifest Destiny. And thank you for bringing this forward.
Senator Crowder.
I also support SJR 30. You know, what we need to do is we need to have pride in our military for the action of which they have taken in the past. This, in my opinion, is a pretty dark day for the American veteran. You know, once you get into it's on the internet, you can get into the actual proceedings in Washington, D.C. on the testimony, and you can see the atrocities very clearly. You know, there were some brave men with this detachment that were, you know, that did stand up for justice and honor by making sure people understood the atrocities of what happened. That these people, and one of them was Lieutenant Kramer, you know, as a commander who did not wish to partake in which it cost him his life. But we actually were dishonored that day on this tragic event. And as a representative for that area, I can tell you that you know, we hold it in our hearts very, very closely as to how to, you know, how to acknowledge what did happen and the dishonor of it. But you know, and we've seen these atrocities throughout history. You know, as a Vietnam veteran, you know, we've seen atrocities. Well, we've seen it in every war, but there is no excuse for that, because we as American fighting men we have the honor to, you know, fight for this nation, but we also have the required dignity to do it in a correct way. So, you know, it's one of those things that did happen, but I would encourage everybody to go back to the testimony in Congress and read some of this, because it is quite an event. But anyway, I stand in support of this. Thank you.
Senator Guzman.
Thank you, Madam President, and I come as well to support this. If those of you here have not been on the grounds where the massacre occurred, I would urge you to do that sometime. You have to go through a certain process to be able to get on the grounds, but you can do that. It's a very sacred place, and certainly will always be sacred to the Native Americans, who someday, I think, once everything is done there in terms of its national prestige, will bury some of the sacred remains of some of the folks who died. There is some hope, as Senator Roberts said, I think, in remembering these kinds of occasions, because history has some dark places, but one of the best things that history can do for us also is bring about a transformation of individuals and societies. For many years, in Montana, there was the site called Custer's Last Stand. But through the study and through the coming together of persons, of Americans and our parties in Congress, there was an executive order, I think it was done by executive order, maybe not, signed by President, can't remember if it was the first George Bush or if it was Ronald Reagan, that changed the name of that monument from Custer's Last Stand to the National Monument of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. In other words, reframing the truth and the history and the respect of all sides. And in the past, there was when you toured that event or that area, you would be told about Custer, and you could see, and still today, where some of the members of Custer's cavalry were buried. But there's also a memorial now to the Native people who died. And so I think that is a wonderful reintroduction or a new start to placing history in front of those of us who are Americans, to understand that though there were times of trial and events, sometimes that led to massacre or led to other kinds of fights and military happenings, that there is now the understanding that many things came together. But what I like so much and honor so much about this resolution, it does give us a pause to understand maybe a great deal of the injustices, but also the hope that that those injustices do not happen again, and that the hope that we here in Colorado make our lands sacred instead of there being a piece of land that is not dedicated to the opportunities for us to grow, by it becoming a national site and a memorial site and honoring what happened there. We as Coloradoans will be able to be proud, even in a silent way and in a sacred way, that we have transformed our lives and hopefully our society. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, you should have on your desk a brochure regarding the Sand Creek Massacre. It is a National Park Service historic site. It is a bit of a drive. I've been told that it gets to 120 degrees or quite hot in the summer, so you might want to go. I went down there about 6 weeks ago, and I would encourage you to go when you have some time and not to be in a hurry. It does require some thoughtful experience, and with that, we renew our motion for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 30, and again, request that the chimes be rung for the lives lost.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 30. A roll call vote has been requested. We will ring the chimes in honor of the life and memory of those who were massacred at the Sand Creek Massacre. Mr. Majors, would you please poll the senators?
Aguilar. Aguilar, aye. Balmer. Balmer, aye. Baumgardner. Baumgardner, aye. Brophy. Brophy, aye. Cadman. Cadman, aye. Crowder. Crowder, aye. Grantham. Grantham, aye. Guzman. Guzman, aye. Harvey. Harvey, aye. Heath. Heath, aye. Herpin. Herpin, aye. Hill. Hill, aye. Hodge. Hodge, aye. John. John, aye. Johnston. Johnston, aye. Jones. Jones, aye. Kafalis. Kafalis, aye. Kerr. Kerr, aye. King. King, aye. Lambert. Lambert, aye. Lundberg. Lundberg, aye. Marble. Marble, aye. Newell. Newell, aye. Nicholson. Nicholson, aye. Renfro. Renfro, aye. Rivera. Rivera, aye. Roberts. Roberts, aye. Scheffel. Scheffel, aye. Schwartz. Schwartz, aye. Stedman. Stedman, aye. Talktrop. Talktrop, aye. Todd. Todd, aye. Ulibarri. Ulibarri, aye. Zenzinger. Zenzinger, aye. Madam President. Madam President, aye.
With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 30 is adopted. Would you care to move the roll call for co-sponsors? Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Any objection? With seeing none, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 30. Third reading of bills. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1089? Oh, and before you do that, please excuse Senator Baumgartner.
House Bill 1089 by Representative Hamner and Senator Schwartz concerning the qualification for a person to use the 10th Mountain Division license plate.
Senator Schwartz. Mr. Majority Leader.
I move we lay over, what is it? House Bill 1089 until Friday, May 2nd.
Heard the motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. House Bill 1089 will lay over until Friday. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1216?
House Bill 1216 by Representative Sonnenberg and Senator Brophy concerning required safety markings for certain towers over 50 feet in height that are located in unincorporated areas of the state.
Senator Brophy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1216 on third reading and final passage.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1216. Are there any no votes? Senator Crowder. With 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1216 is adopted. Co-sponsors.
Keep going.
Senator Toktrop. Senator Rivera. Madam President Pro Tem. Senator Jones. Senator Schwartz. Mr. Majority Leader. Senator Todd. Senator Herpin. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 159?
Senate Bill 159 by Senator Aguilar and Representative Primavera concerning implementation of standardized rules for use in processing medical claims and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 159 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of Senate Bill 159. Are there any no votes? Senator Marble, Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Shuffle, Harvey, Lambert, Brophy, Grantham, Lundberg, Renfro, Hill. With 24 ayes, 10 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 159 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Nicholson, Jones, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Toktrop, Ulibarri, Schwartz, Todd, Hodge. Newell, Mr. Majority Leader. Please add the President. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1328?
House Bill 1328 by Representatives Williams and Quorum and Senators Nicholson and Crowder concerning the deployment of broadband into unserved areas of Colorado through grant making from monies allocated from the Colorado High Cost Support Mechanism and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senators Nicholson and Crowder. Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1328 for final vote and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1328. Are there any no votes? Senator Marble, Senator Balmer, Senator Hill, Senator Harvey, Senator Lambert, Senator Lundberg. With 29 ayes, 6 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1328 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Aguilar, Madam President Pro Tem, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Kerr, Kafalis, Newell, Hodge, Zenzinger, Todd, Toktrop, Ulibarri. Please add the President. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1331?
House Bill 1331 by Representatives Williams and Murray and Senators Nicholson and Kerr concerning the regulation of basic local exchange service as it affects effective competition in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Madam President. We move House Bill 1331 on third reading and final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1331. Are there any no votes? With 34, Senator Marble is a no on House Bill 1331. With 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1331 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Toktrop, Hodge, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Scheffel, Crowder. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1329?
House Bill 1329 by Representatives Williams and Marie and Senators Kerr and Scheffel concerning the exemption of certain Internet Protocol-enabled services from oversight by the Public Utilities Commission and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. We would move House Bill 1329 on third reading, final passage, and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of 1329. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1329 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Hodge, Toktrop, Crowder, Todd.
This is it.
Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1327?
House Bill 1327 by Representatives Williams and Marie and Senator Scheffel and Toktrop concerning measures to expand the deployment of communication networks and in connection therewith enacting the Broadband Deployment Act and making an appropriation.
Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I would move House Bill 1327 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of 1327. Are there any no votes? Senators Balmer, Marble. With 32 ayes, 2 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1327 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Madam President Pro Tem, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Kafalas, Hodge, Crowder, Rivera, Kerr, Zenzinger. Please now the President. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1330?
House Bill 1330 by Representative Williams and Senator Toktrop concerning an update of telecommunications terminology for interstate telecommunications services.
Senator Toktrop.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1330 on third reading and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1330 on third readings. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1330 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senators Crowder, Herpin, Scheffel, Rivera, Kerr, Nicholson, Kafalas, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Hodge, Todd, Lambert, Mr. Majority Leader. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 118?
Senate Bill 118 by Senator Stedman and Representative Melton concerning improving protections for individuals with disabilities.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 118 on third reading, and I ask permission to offer a third reading amendment.
Senator Stedman, please proceed with why permission should be granted.
This is to fix one of the definitions that the Civil Rights Division would like preserved in the fair housing laws. The bill was going to move it, and we have since heard from them that they need to have that retained where it is. And so I would ask for permission to fix this, and hopefully it's the last amendment I have to do on this bill.
Question is permission. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Permission is granted to Senator Stedman to offer a third reading amendment. Mr. Majors, would you please read L018?
Amendment L018 to Senate Bill 118 by Senator Stedman, amended gross bill, page 4.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Amendment L018. And colleagues, this amendment does two things. It strikes some language from the definition of person that's being moved to Part 3 to apply so it applies to the entire Civil Rights Code. There was going to be additions to that came out of the housing laws where it refers to persons as landlords and owners and lessees. Because we're preserving the existing structure of the fair housing laws and keeping all of that in Part 5, it's not necessary to make those changes to that definition. And then this amendment creates a definition within Part 5 of disability, which is actually different from the ADA definition because the Federal Fair Housing Act predates the Americans with Disabilities Act and hasn't had the kind of updating that Senate Bill 118 is doing to our state laws. So we're keeping the old definition of disability in the fair housing laws in Part 5 of the statutes.
Senator Harvey.
Thank you, Madam President. I haven't had the chance to really look into this amendment, and neither has anybody else. And this is not a technical amendment. This is a pretty significant policy change that we are doing, and we're making this amendment on third reading for that purpose and that purpose only, since we haven't had the ability to have a hearing on this pretty substantial public policy change. I would ask for a no vote.
Further discussion on L018, Senator Stebbins.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I'll just point out that the definition that we're putting into Part 5 for the housing laws currently exists elsewhere in statute, and it's because of the way the bill is rearranging the definitional scheme, the Civil Rights Division asked to have this old definition moved into Part 5, and I'm doing this at their request, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Senator Harvey.
Thank you. I understand why the sponsor is doing that, but it doesn't change the fact that this substantial public policy change to put this into the fair housing portions of state statute. I think that if we want to do this, we can have a complete public hearing in the second house, in the second chamber, and do it that way rather than truly misusing third reading amendment technical amendment changes for the purposes of making substantial public policy changes. For that reason, I would ask for a no vote.
Question for the body is the adoption of L018. Are there any no votes? Senators Harvey, Crowder, Marble, Lundberg, Brophy, Shuffle, Rivera, Renfro, Grantham, Hill, Balmer, Herpin, Mr. Minority Leader. Senator Lambert. With 20 ayes, 14 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, L018 is adopted. Senator Stebbins.
Thank you, Madam President. I renew my motion for the passage of Senate Bill 118.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of Senate Bill 118 on third reading. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader. Senators Marble, Lundberg, Crowder, Harvey, Lambert, Brophy, Balmer, Hill, Renfro, Shuffle, Grantham. With 22 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 118 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Kafalis, Nicholson, Aguilar, Toktrop, Kerr, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Zenzinger, Newell, Hodge, Todd, Schwartz, Jones, Ulibarri. Please add the President. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1170?
House Bill 1170 by Representative Garcia and Senator Stebbins, concerning the authority of the state to enter into lease purchase agreements for the Colorado Bureau of Investigation's Pueblo Regional Office and Forensic Laboratory, and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Stebbins.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1170 on third reading and final passage.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1170. Any no votes? Senators Grantham, Marble, Renfro, Harvey, Lambert, Brophy, Lundberg, Balmer, Hill, Shuffle, Mr. Minority Leader. With 23 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1170 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Nicholson, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Crowder, Aguilar, Zenzinger, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators King, Rivera, Schwartz, Todd, Hodge, Johnston, Newell, Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 206?
Senate Bill 206 by Senator Stedman and Representative Singer concerning criminal record sealing provisions and in connection therewith relocating the record sealing provisions in a new part, clarifying when an arrest record can be sealed and making other clarifying changes.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 206 on third reading and final passage.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of Senate Bill 206. Any no votes? Senators Crowder? With 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 206 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Ulibarri, Nicholson, Madam President Pro Tem. Senators John, please add the President. Senator Harvey. Senator Newell. Senator Todd. Senator Toktrop. Mr. Majority Leader. Senator Kerr. And Senator Johnston. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1072?
House Bill 1072 by Representatives Pedersen and Exum and Senator Kefaulis concerning an income tax credit for child care expenses paid by a resident individual with a federal adjusted gross income of $25,000 or less and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Kefaulis.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1072 on third reading and final passage.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1072. Are there any no votes? Senators Marble, Lundberg, Shuffle, Balmer, Brophy, Harvey, Lambert, Renfro, Hill. Mr. Minority Leader. Senator Grantham.
You want to move it?
With 23 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1072 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Stedman, Nicholson, Aguilar, Mr. Majority Leader, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Newell, Kerr, Zenzinger, Todd, Schwartz, Jones, Toktrop, Ulibarri, Johnston. Please add the President. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1014?
House Bill 1014 by Representatives Del Grosso and Kraft Tharp, Senators Heath and Sheffield concerning modifications to the job growth incentive tax credit in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Senator Heath.
Thank you, Madam President. We move House Bill 1014 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1014. Any no votes? Senators Hill, Marble, Renfro, Brophy, Balmer, Lundberg, Lambert. With 27 ayes, 7 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1014 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Newell, Senator Crowder, Senators Kefaulis, Todd, Schwartz, Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1205?
House Bill 1205 by Representative Wright and Senator Crowder concerning the Veterans Assistance Grant Program.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1205 on third and final reading and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1205. Are there any no votes? Senators Lambert, Harvey, Marble, Lundberg, Brophy, Balmer, Shuffle, Renfro, Grantham, Hill. These are no votes on House Bill 1205. With 24 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1205 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Roberts, Herpin, King, Rivera, Ulibarri, Toktrop, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Aguilar, Nicholson, Kafalis, Newell, Zenzinger, Todd, Kerr. Please have the president. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1211?
House Bill 1211 by Representative Young and Senator Todd concerning ensuring access to quality complex rehabilitation technology in the Medicaid program and in connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1211 on third reading and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1211. Any no votes? Senators Marble, Balmer, Grantham, Shuffle, Lambert. With 29 ayes, 5 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1211 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Aguilar, Nicholson, Kafalis, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Stedman, Newell. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1221?
House Bill 1221 by Representatives Exum Rankin and Senator Todd concerning continuation of the regulation of fire suppression contractors by the Division of Fire Prevention and Control in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of the 2013 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1221 on third reading and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1221. Are there any no votes? Senators Brophy, Harvey, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Shuffle. Mr. Minority Leader. Senators Renfro, Grantham, Crowder, Rivera, Hill. With 22 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1221 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator King, Senator Newell, Madam President Pro Tem. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1273?
House Bill 1273 by Representatives McCann and Wright, Senators Newell and Schwartz concerning human trafficking in connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. Senator Schwartz has no voice today, but we move House Bill 1273 on third and final vote, ask for an aye vote. And Madam President, there are students who have actually come to see this vote happen because they have been studying human trafficking in their own schools. So we're very happy. I know I'm not allowed to announce them, but we're very happy to have them here and witness the culmination of their studying on human trafficking.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, colleagues. I want to follow up on the comments from the bill sponsor and recognize those from Mapleton Early College. I know it's against the rules, so I won't do that. Actually, what I'll do instead is read some of their words. They lobbied me this morning out in the lobby and wanted to lift up their voices as we consider this bill. This is from Xochitl Bonilla. She is a student at Mapleton Early College and resides in my district, and she states 300,000 children each year in the U.S. are susceptible to trafficking. The majority of those 300,000 are between the ages of 12 to 14 years old, and 46% of those know who is recruiting them for trafficking. Wouldn't it be painful to see your daughter or niece being abused or used as sex toys by men with money? That's from Xochitl Bonilla. This is from Destiny Langmaid, who led the lobby visit this morning, and she said about House Bill 1273, this bill is providing justice for those who have been forced into human trafficking. These victims have been subjected to repeated torture and abuse. Providing justice for these people is the least that could be done for them to get them back into society, not just as a victim, but as a person. And then I wanted to close by reading the words from Isaiah Montalvo, and I think his words are incredibly poignant this morning as we consider HB 1273. He says, "What's the one thing that makes this country a great place to live? What's the reason our population in 2013 was made up of 40.4 million foreign-born citizens? One word, freedom. the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Human trafficking takes a person's freedom. They are no longer free to think on their own, have a life of their own, or even be on their own. Small children to adults are being sold or exchanged like common household items. This makes me sick to my stomach to think that this could be me, my brother, mother, or father. It happens every day because no one has made it a priority to make a change. And I want to say to Isaiah and Destiny and Sochi, actually, we are working to make it a priority, make it a change in the law here, thanks to these bill sponsors. I'm proudly a yes on this bill.
Senator Crowder, did you? Okay. Senator Lambert?
Thank you, Madam President. I had asked the bill sponsors a question during appropriations and also on second reading of why the class of felony for victims who are in the United States illegally is higher than the felony for those who are trafficking in American citizens. I'm still waiting for an answer for that. This is the second house for this bill. If necessary, I'd be willing to lay this over until we have an answer to that question and actually act on it, because this seems to be non-uniform. Certainly, this should not I mean, it needs to be uniform, and I'm not sure why the bill sponsors haven't answered that question.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. The person who I went to, who is the person in the AG's office who prosecutes these kinds of cases, has been out of town, unfortunately. But I do know that they are having this advisory task force that they'll be working with on that. So this could be one of those issues that we could address with the council.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam President. This is setting a Class 2 and a Class 3 criminal felony in a non-uniform way. And I'm concerned that if this gets into court, it may be thrown out because of the non-uniformity of the law. If we want to raise them all to a Class 2 felony, I'm fine with that. But putting this out because somebody doesn't answer their phone calls when we're on third reading in the second house, I find problematic. I just don't know how we can go forward with this without some review of it, because going to some task force is not going to obviate the fact that this is going to go to judicial review, and we may have a non-uniform felony simply on what kind of people are being trafficked in. And certainly there are American citizens who are being trafficked in the same way, even in our own state. This is unequal protection under the law, and I'm concerned that if we go forward, I'd certainly be willing to lay this over a day if we could do that, but this needs to be answered.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. This is based on the Uniform Commission law, yes, and the bill sponsor in the House, the originating bill sponsor, met for actually over a year with all of the stakeholders, and at the helm was the Janet Drake in the Attorney General's office, who prosecutes these kinds of cases. And in that stakeholder group, they decided to swerve a little bit from the uniform bill, so it's not a true Uniform Commission bill because of the Colorado patchwork that we have of statutes.
We can, I don't care. Yeah. I'll move. Go ahead.
Okay.
Move.
Senator, no.
Did you say no?
Senator No.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, sorry. Madam President, I'd be happy to lay it over. We have no hurry because it is the second chamber. I'd be happy and see if she's available this week.
I'll move it.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Is he back? Is the AG person?
I guess you could say by, it doesn't matter.
I'll lay it over till Friday. Just give you time. Thank you, Madam
Mr. Majority Leader, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we lay this over until Friday, May 2nd, to give a chance to meet with the adjutant, the person over in AG's office.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, and I would appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader, and for bill sponsors. As you know, I've stood in the well here many, many times talking about this is slavery, and I speak strongly against this. I've run bills on human trafficking myself. I just don't want to see a non-uniform law go into effect, especially after they've been discussing this for a year. It's hopefully we can correct this by Friday. Thank you.
So the motion is to lay it over till Friday. Mr. Majority Leader, you want to
Just change that
modify?
motion to lay it over till Wednesday, and if we don't have it, we can lay it over till Friday. So I'll change my motion to read, lay it over until April 30th, Wednesday.
Okay, the revised motion is to lay it over until Wednesday. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We will lay over House Bill 1273 until Wednesday. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1213?
House Bill 1213 by Representative Kraft Harper, Senator Crowder, considering pharmacy benefit manager maximum allowable cost pricing requirements for prescription drugs in a connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1213 on third and final reading and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1213. Are there any no votes? Senator Hill. And Senator Lundberg. With 32, and Senator Marble. With 31 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1213 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Kafalis, Nicholson, Madam President Pro Tem. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1011?
House Bill 1011 by Representatives Young and Giroux and Senator Heath concerning the funding of advanced industry economic development programs.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1011 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1011. Are there any no votes? Senators Balmer, Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Shuffle, Crowder, Lambert, Harvey, Brophy, Lundberg, Marble, Grantham, Renfro, King, Hill, Rivera, Herpin. With 19 ayes, 15 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1011 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Zenzinger, Nicholson, Kafalis, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Newell, Todd, Schwartz. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1307?
House Bill 1307 by Representative Vigil and Senator Crowder concerning the recategorization of mineral county for the purpose of statutory provisions fixing the salaries of county officers.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. On House Bill 1307, I move for third and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question is the adoption of House Bill 1307. Are there any no votes? Senator Balmer. Senator Marble. With 32 ayes, 2 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1307 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Schwartz. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Concurrent Resolution 2?
Senate Concurrent Resolution 2 by Senators Brophy and Carroll and Representative Nordberg, submitting to the registered electors of the state of Colorado an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the protection of electronic data from unreasonable searches and seizures.
Senator Brophy.
Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of President Carroll and myself, I move Senate Concurrent Resolution 2 and ask for an aye vote.
Any discussion? Question, Senator Johnston.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to come to the well on this for a minute. This is a significant issue anytime you undertake to amend the Constitution, and we had a very lengthy and I think productive debate on this in the Judiciary Committee, but I do think now that it's important to create a clear legislative record as this goes to the ballot, if that is what's going to go forward, and I will support it today. Which is, many of the things that came up in conversation was that when we were talking about electronic data, this does not cover data that is in the public sphere. So this does not cover Facebook, this does not cover Instagram, this does not cover Twitter, This does not cover what you would call the cyber public square, which is if you put things out into a public space, that is not protected. This also does not cover the behavior of federal actors. So this does not cover the NSA or the CIA or the FBI or those agencies that are all regulated by the federal Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. In the instance of a conflict between federal law and state law, there is what is called the Supremacy Clause, which means the federal law or the federal Constitution always triumphs. So I want us to be clear about both. The phrase that kept coming up in committee was what the sponsors called password protected information, which is yes, if you have password protected email, the government cannot break into your email account and get access to it. I think that is the spirit of what is described here. If a felon posts a picture of themselves holding a handgun that is the criminal weapon used in a crime, and the police can get access to that picture on Facebook, that is not publicly protected electronic data. And by amending the Fourth Amendment, all of the current exigent circumstances that apply to the rest of the Fourth Amendment will also apply to probable cause inspections here. And so I think that gives this Constitution the same parameters that apply to those searches now. But I want people not to think that because we are adding new language in, that somehow there is a new and different level of protection for this data than is otherwise protected for your papers and effects as they're currently constituted, and to not have people believe that the internet is now somehow a shield against otherwise reachable pieces of data or information that you share as you would leaving a paper at a public town hall hearing or putting one on a Facebook page. So for folks that didn't have the benefit of that 6 hours of debate on the Judiciary Committee, I want to come to the well and make those statements both for the debate as well as for the record.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Having been on the Judiciary Committee as well and participated in that debate, I'd like to add a little more clarity, which may not make it that much clearer. I heard someone tell me this didn't happen in committee, but that at least we can be well assured that among all the federal agencies out there, the NSA is listening to you. And I would submit this, that the Fourth Amendment, to me, appears fairly clear, with the exception of 21st century technology is not in the terminology. And this makes it very clear in the Colorado Constitution that the security and the privacy of your person and papers and effects and possessions applies within the electronic world as well. And I submit this as a bit of a contention that the federal government is subject to that unless the Fourth Amendment or some other provision passed by either U.S. Constitution or, in a questionable manner, Congress overrides that. We here in the state of Colorado will state very clearly that for the citizens of Colorado, your electronic information is as secure as your written information. And that is subject to the government for every Colorado citizen, regardless of the level of government. I will admit that the Supremacy Clause would allow the federal government to override that, but I'm not aware of anything that is doing that. Hence, this clarity applies at the federal and the state level.
Senator Brophy.
Thank you, Madam President. And for the record, since we are establishing legislative record here, I want to correct a couple of things. The things that you put on Twitter and Facebook that are meant to be direct messages from one individual to another ought to be covered by this type of protection, not those which you put on your wall or in the public sphere of the likes of Twitter and Instagram. And the senator from Denver specifically mentioned password protected data. I think we go a little beyond mere password protected, as the senator from Berthoud mentioned during committee. Just because you fail to lock your car, protecting it with the key password, doesn't mean it's okay for someone to rifle through it without your permission. So this data, so this protection should apply to that data which is in cyberspace for which you as an individual would expect privacy, just like you expect of your car, whether you lock it or not. Not your Facebook posts which go on your or somebody else's wall, which are clearly the equivalent of sticking it up on the corkboard in the cafeteria downstairs or in any place else. So with that, and with everybody else's assistance here, I will ask for an aye vote on this. I think it is important because I do believe that many government agencies do not understand or do not think that those things that exist in cyberspace indeed are private items and need the protection of our Fourth Amendment and the equivalent Section 7, Article 2 here in the state of Colorado. Ask for an aye vote.
The question is the adoption of Senate Concurrent Resolution 2. This measure requires 24 votes. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, Senate Concurrent Resolution 2 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Madam President Pro Tem, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Kafalas, Kerr, John, Ulibarri, Rivera, Zenzinger, Jones, King, Shuffle, Marble, Crowder, Lundberg, Roberts, Hill, Herpin, Harvey, Lambert. Talk Truck. Mr. Minority Leader, Senator Grantham. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, in a moment, I'm going to move that we take up special orders and combine the second reading consent calendars of today and tomorrow so we can get those taken care of and lighten our workload for tomorrow, which you can see is lengthy. So with that, Madam President, I move that the Senate take up House Bill 1322, House Bill 1323, House Bill 1159, House Bill 1095, Senate Bill 155, and House Bill 1194 on special reading orders, second reading of bills consent calendar at the hour of 11:50.
The motion is to take up House Bills 1322, House Bill 1323, House Bill 1159, House Bill 1095, Senate Bill 155, House Bill 1194 in special order, second reading of bills consent calendar at the hour of 11:50. This motion requires 2/3 vote. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will take up those bills on special order, second reading of bills calendar at the hour of 11:50. The Senate will stand in a brief recess to allow the special orders calendars to be prepared and distributed. The Senate will come back to order. Special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, Senator Guzman. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will resolve itself into a committee of the whole for purpose of considering special order, second reading of bills calendar, and Senator Guzman will take the chair.
Thank you. The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to all the bills listed on the consent calendar?
House Bill 1322 by Representative McLaughlin and Senator Roberts concerning the Colorado Probate Code. House Bill 1323 by Representative Primavera and Senators Lindbergh and Gonzalez concerning restrictions on the ability of government entity to access an individual's personal medical information. House Bill 1159 by Representatives Young and Dorr and Senators Schwartz and Crowder concerning estate sales and use tax exemption for components used in biogas production systems. House Bill 1095 by Representatives Kagan and Gardner and Senator Newell concerning the Colorado Bureau of Investigation's authority to investigate computer crime and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Senate Bill 155 by Senator Stedman and Representatives May and Duran concerning grant funding for medical marijuana health effects studies. House Bill 1194 by Representative Giroux and Senator Lambert concerning the recreation of the Legislative Digital Policy Advisory Committee.
Majority Leader Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the adoption of all the bills listed in the special order second reading of bills consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which includes House Bills 1322 and its Judiciary Committee report, House Bill 1323, House Bill 1159, and its Appropriations Committee report, House Bill 1095, Senate Bill 155, and its Health and Human Services and Finance Committee reports, and House Bill 1194.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports to any of the bills listed on the special orders consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports to all the bills on special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills listed on the special orders consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move we rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Guzman.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
April 28th, 2014, Madam President, your committee of the whole brings reports out of consideration of the following tax bills being second reading thereof, makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 155 is amended, passed on second reading in order to gross place in the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bills 1322 is amended, 1323, 1159 is amended, 1095, 1194, passed on second reading in order to revise place in the counter for third reading and final passage.
Senator Guzman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Is there any discussion? Question is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 155 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1322 is amended, House Bill 1323, House Bill 1159 is amended, House Bill 1095, House Bill 1194 passed on second reading, ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Just so everyone knows, we are going to recess here, so we are not going to be hearing the balance of the calendar, and I will lay over the balance of the calendar after we recess. We're going to come back at 1 o'clock to read a whole host of bills over the calendar, over the desk. You're not going to have to come back. So I will be recessing until 1 p.m., just so everybody knows. Also, for future reference here, We are not going to come back today after 5 o'clock, but we will be coming back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, after the committees are over that afternoon, and we will be here Friday afternoon and go until we finish. We've got some 200 bills left in somewhere in the whole process, so we've got a journey ahead of us. I know we can do it, but it's going to take us putting in some extra hours, as you can see. So I think we have probably some announcements, Madam President, to be made, but just so everybody understands where we're going. So maybe we let the announcements go and then...
Sure. We have some things to read across the desk, and so before we get to announcements, maybe let's take up the motion to lay over the balance of the calendar first.
Okay. So I move we lay over the balance of the calendar, I guess, until 1 o'clock or until tomorrow? Okay. Until tomorrow, April 29th.
For the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We'll lay over the balance of the calendar. Signing of bills.
April 28, 2014, the President signed Senate Bills 158 and 161.
Message from the governor.
April 24, 2014, to the Honorable Colorado Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the powers conferred upon me by the Constitution and laws of the state of Colorado, I have the honor to designate and appoint submit to consideration the following member of the Colorado State Fair Authority Board of Commissioners. For a term expiring November 1st, 2018, the Honorable Lois Ann Tocktrop of Thornton, Colorado, a Democrat residing in the 7th Congressional District, appointed. Sincerely, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor.
Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. Delivery to the governor.
To the Governor for signature on Monday, April 28, 2014 at 10:59 a.m. Senate Bills 158, and 161.
Now we're on announcements. Senator Hodge.
Thank you, Madam President. Appropriations, we will take care of 20 of those 200 bills tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. See you there.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, today, among many other things, it is Bikers Day at the Capitol, or Bikers Capitol Day, whatever they call it. You're all invited out to the West Steps over the noon hour, and I'm told they've got a lunch there too. So, and if it's not out there, it'd be downstairs if they figure the weather is not good enough. But go out and join some of the free spirits in the state of Colorado. Thank you.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the Senate recess until 1 p.m. today, April 28th.
For the motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand in recess till 1 p.m. today.